Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Kmart, and I want to talk about some basketball. And today, we are going to be talking about some hot takes for the upcoming NBA season. Specifically, going to be talking about some of the hot takes as written by Bleacher Report. So there was an article relatively recently from Bleacher Report, something along the lines of one hot take for every team in the NBA. So I was reading through that and I figured for most of these, they didn't really seem like spectacularly hot takes altogether. So I figured why not take maybe two or three of the ones that I genuinely did believe were sort of hot takes for the upcoming season and talk about them in a video. So that is what we're going to do. We've got about three of the predictions from that article that we'll talk about here. Obviously, the whole article will be linked in the description if you want to read any of the other hot takes or predictions that were in that article. But we're going to start things off here with the Brooklyn Nets. Bleacher Report's hot take for the Nets was that they would win the lottery and draft Cooper Flagg. The Cooper Flagg's part specifically probably isn't super relevant here. The idea is the prediction was that the Nets would win the draft lottery and get the number one overall pick. Now, to me, that's a pretty hot take here, starting from the statistical standpoint, right, before anything else. With the current lottery rules, even the worst team in the entire league has only about a 14% chance or so to get the number one pick. So choosing any specific team to earn that pick already is statistically unlikely. But then you move to the part where the Nets would need to be one of the worst teams in the league to even have that 14% chance. And I'm not really sure that the Nets will be that bad unless they specifically force it to happen, right? You have players on the roster who still present value and who still presumably will play well. Guys with multi-year contracts still, like Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith, would need to either be benched or have their roles reduced, or would need to be sort of traded away outright. Meanwhile, you've got guys at the end of their deal, two in particular, Ben Simmons and Cam Thomas, who still need to sort of prove that they're sort of worth whatever their next contract is going to be, right? In the case of Ben Simmons, he's played 57 games over the past 3 seasons. His contract was, $30+ million a year. So he needs to prove that he is both healthy and can contribute to helping a team actually win in order to get another contract. For Cam Thomas, just came off a fantastic year. 22.5 points, 3.2 rebounds, 2.9 assists on 44.2% from the field. But he's going into the last year of, I think his rookie scale contract. So he's looking to prove that he can produce on that level consistently to get another deal for himself. So effectively, the Nets don't really seem to have a bottom 3 roster in the league right now, unless they deliberately make changes to make themselves worse. They have players for whom it would be detrimental to simply tank and give up, bad for their sort of long-term contract prospects. And even if the team manages to intentionally downgrade itself to lose the amount of games they would need to be bottom 3 in the league, you're still looking at around a 14% chance at that number one pick. So yeah, I would sort of classify that as a pretty hot take there from both the statistical standpoint and from just the roster construction standpoint. I don't think the Nets are that bad to get the number one pick unless steps are taken to make them that bad. Second hot take that I took from the article was that the Milwaukee Bucks will be a play-in team in the Eastern Conference. Honestly, this feels like a little bit of an overreaction to last year's early exit. There is reason for concern for the Bucks, absolutely, because yes, the Bucks did fail to meet expectations, and they're now in a tougher situation, right? Some of the teams at the top of the East got even stronger. The Bucks defense last year was not exactly an elite unit. They weren't awful by any means, but they were near or below league average in quite a few categories. But if you look at all the things that happened to the Bucks last season, right? They changed their coach halfway through the season, still not 100% sure which people influenced that decision, but they had to adjust to a new coach. They played without Giannis with basically the entirety of the playoffs due to injury. They had Damian Lillard miss 2 of their 6 playoff games, so they were down some star players. They were adjusting to a new coach, and if you look statistically at the Bucks numbers on the offensive side of the ball, there's still a lot to like there. 4th in points, 5th in both 3-pointers made and 3-point attempts, 9th in field goals, 7th in field goal percentage, 9th in rebounds, 3rd in free throw attempts. So this was a team that still created a whole lot of offensive opportunities for itself, and I think that's something that they're going to lean heavily on coming into this next season. So yeah, the defense, definitely a concern for the Bucks. The injuries were definitely a concern last year, really hindered their playoff push. Some of their core players get a year older. Guys like Middleton, guys like Brook Lopez are old and or recovering from injury still. And the bench unit, the bench depth for Milwaukee is maybe less proven than one would like heading into the campaign. But even with all of that taken into consideration, pushing the Bucks all the way down to play-in status, pushing them outside of the top 6 in the East, does feel like you're going a little too pessimistic with the predictions. So entirely possible, but I still see it as being pretty unlikely. So again, bit of a hot take. That was the point. But the final hot take that I took from that article that truly did sort of come across as a hot take to me was for the Portland Trailblazers. And the Bleacher Report article said that Shaedon Sharpe would average more than 20 or more points per game. Now, just want to say first off, technically speaking, this article I believe was written before any news came out about Shaedon Sharpe's injury, right? So Sharpe is going to miss the start of the season due to a shoulder injury. They said something along the lines of 4 to 6 weeks. So presumably he's not going to miss a lot of time, but he is going to miss some to begin the season. So, that might affect us a little bit, but this is a similar situation to what we saw from Sharpe last season. He averaged 15.9 points last year on 40.6% shooting from the field and 33.3% shooting from 3. And those numbers were across only, I think, about 32 games last year. Gonna have to double check that, but Sharpe missed a bit of time last year as well, still averaged, nearly 16 points. So the thought process there is him bumping that number up to 20 plus is within the realm of a possibility. In order to do that, though, one of two things is going to have to happen for Sharpe. He's either going to have to be better in terms of his own efficiency, or he's going to need more shot opportunities to make up the difference. Now, on the efficiency front, that is something that certainly seems possible. Shaedon Sharpe actually shot a higher field goal percentage and 3-point percentage in his rookie year compared to last season, which was his second year in the league. But the increase in volume maybe sort of helped to lower his efficiency, right? He was shooting a little bit worse because he was getting quite a few more shots than he did in his rookie year. But we know he's at least capable of hitting those higher percentages in theory, right? So on the efficiency front, certainly possible for Sharpe to hit that mark. In terms of getting more shot opportunities, I think that route is a little bit tougher to envision for Sharpe here, and it's just because of the way the Trailblazers lineup currently looks. As of right now, Anthony Simons is still the number one option. I don't really think you could argue against that. He averaged 22.6 points per game on 43% shooting from the field, and he took 18.2 field goal attempts per game. He was the primary option for the Trailblazers on the offensive end. Meanwhile, you have guys like Jeremy Grant and DeAndre Ayton, who are still on the roster, both of whom averaged more points than Sharpe and got either the same amount or more field goal attempts per game than Sharpe did. So a pair of guys who are, at least on paper, a little bit higher up the priority list than Sharp in terms of getting shots. It should also be noted for the Trailblazers, they've got guys like Scoot Henderson, who is presumably expected to have a larger role in his second season with the team after a kind of middle of the road rookie campaign, I would say. And then you've got someone like Deni Avdija that the team recently traded for, who will almost certainly get some attention as well in the offensive system. I don't think that trade was exclusively to dump Malcolm Brogdon's salary. They bring Avdija in, presumably with the intent of having him be a part of the offense. So you take all that into account, Shaedon Sharpe is going to have to fight his way through quite a few other people in order to secure more shots to bump up those scoring numbers. Now, it's absolutely possible for Sharpe to emerge as the best option from all of those players. He is young, he has a lot of potential to improve and to do so rapidly, and that's one of the benefits of being on a rebuilding team with young players, is that the hierarchy is much more fluid, right? From year to year, you know, Henderson could have a bad year. Jeremy Grant or DeAndre Ayton could sort of fade a little bit while Shaedon Sharpe, shoots up not the depth chart, but the priority list for the Blazers on the offensive end. However, banking on Sharpe to make that kind of leap, considering the obstacles in front of him and also his injury, is something that I don't really think you could predict with any real sense of certainty. It is 100% possible, but again, it doesn't seem like the most likely scenario to occur. Hence, the designation as a hot take. So there you go. That's just 3 from the article in question here. Those were the 3 that I thought were, well and truly actual hot take material. A lot of the other ones were kind of obvious, or things that are maybe not hot takes, but were a little more likely than the 3 that I picked here, if that makes sense. But let me know what you think of these 3 that I outlined, right? The Nets winning the lottery, the Bucks being a play-in team, or Sharpe averaging 20 plus points per game. Which do you think is the sort of hottest take? Which do you think is the most likely to occur from those 3? Please feel free to let me know. Feel free to, read the article itself as well. Maybe there's other takes in that article that you think were more deserving of being talked about. But that article will be linked in the description. But either way, please feel free to let me know what you think. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching, and I will talk to you later.